If you've been listening to our show, we've been cranking out the information to help folks get ready for September. And since we're all bow hunters, we naturally lean hard on the archery skill sets. But what if you're hunting elk in September with a rifle? First of all, man, oh man, what an incredible time and hunt opportunity, because it doesn't happen in many places, and it's such a special time. But how do the strategies change? What are some tips unique to rifle hunters? And are there any possible failure points for rifle hunters to avoid? Well, guys and gals, let's just dive in and talk about that. Those topics, some ElkBros shout outs, and questions from our awesome ElkBros mailbox. So my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gillia. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, for our blue collar hunters following our show and grinding it out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host of your show, coming to you live from the studio now in Spring, Texas, and from Katy, Texas. That's
Say it.
The leader of the Venezuelan Mafia himself, Luis Gonzalez, is in the house. And from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're wishing Manano a very lot of prayers. He's got some sick animal at the house, so he can't join us tonight. But from Cuesta, New Mexico, that's right, we got the living legend cowboy himself, R.C. Knox, is in the house. And from Cimarron, New Mexico, that's right, the Elk Ninja, Leroy, Chavez, and WWJGD. What would Joe Gillia do is in the house. What's up, fellas?
Hey.
What's up, brothers?
Hey, good to see everybody.
Oh, you just gotta.
There we go. Got
Hey,
We're bringing some guests in.
the heck?
Hello.
Eddie here.
Whoa. We got a bunch of intruders here. What's going on, Joe?
Guys,
we got the channel hacked?
we have
What's this?
joining us for a few minutes tonight. Guys, meet Dustin Fry and like I said, I can't believe I'm seeing the face. It's been a long time coming. This is Cassidy Reel, Team 307 from the upcoming season of Hunt Wars.
Yeah.
Whoa, welcome, guys. Way cool.
Short straw. Oh, my gosh. That is so awesome. Cassidy and Dustin, welcome to the show, fellas.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Definitely a pleasure being here, man.
Yeah, man, that's cool, Joe, because I know I was telling Joe, it's like, man, Joe, it would be nice to see if we could at least one of these days just kind of chime into your coaching sessions with the Hunt Wars guys and look, I mean, I figured Joe's always thinking ahead, man. He already had something like this planned, I'm sure. So
yeah,
guys, let me ask you a question. How did it when you found out, man? Were y'all stoked or what?
Oh yeah, crazy.
I think Dusty was more stoked. I didn't know if it was true or not.
Are you guys partners?
A team? Yeah.
Who's the shooter? Who's the caller, man?
I'm the shooter. Cassidy's the caller.
You're a lot better shot than Cassidy, or what?
Yeah,
No.
I don't know. We're pretty even. He's just a better caller than I am, so he gets stuck on the short end.
Spoken like a true gentleman, man.
Well, that's
Yes,
important.
sir.
Yeah.
That makes a big
So
difference.
what part of Wyoming are you guys from?
yeah, I'm sorry, I can't say the same thing about Manano being a better caller.
Cody, Wyoming.
Cody, Wyoming.
Cody, Wyoming. Yeah, that's beautiful. Wyoming.
Oh,
Cody.
man.
Yeah, right in the Bighorn Basin, east entrance to Yellowstone.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah,
Been there, love it.
God's land, man.
millions of acres of beautiful mountains, man.
Wow.
And
Lots of elk.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
Lots of them.
You know, Luis,
Yeah.
Luis worked for an oil field company or an oil operator, Marathon Oil, who celebrated over 100 years in the Bighorn Basin operating there.
Yep.
Yeah, I worked for Marathon.
You did?
Yeah, Cassie actually worked for him for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
For
cool.
about 10 years.
Really? Did you know Will Tank and all the guys that worked up there in the Bighorn Basin?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Awesome, brother.
So which one of you guys were the one that applied and got selected? Dustin.
I
was,
did.
huh?
Yeah.
Did
Put
they
in
call
2
you on the phone, or
applications,
they
just
emailed you?
goofing around, man.
Really?
And we got skunked. We party tag every year. This will be our 5th year hunting together. And we party tag all the time together. We got skunked this year, and then come to find out we got drawn for the show. So
Wow.
hey, it's a blessing in
Bro.
disguise.
Brought in the Gila, cuz. I'm like,
We,
wow.
Yeah,
we
but
got
they're not-
interviewed on my 34th birthday, and we just celebrated Cassie's 31st birthday Friday.
Oh,
So
wow.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah, youngster.
So these boys aren't hunting in the Gila; they're in another area of New Mexico. All right. So I don't know that has come out. They know what area it is, but I don't know that it's come out to anybody else. So
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not saying yet, and until I know that. But this is Team 307. We have another group from Wyoming. We have a team from Idaho, and we have a team from Arizona. And
Wow.
these guys are already getting to know each other and kind of starting to feel everything out. And it's kind of cool because we talk about the competition, right? And when I have these guys together, you have no idea that they're in a competition, man. It's just like a bunch of hunters that are going to be in camp together, and I keep trying to stir the juices up just a little bit.
Nobody went for that one you gave us last week on
Hey,
who
man,
was the
Joe
most.
poked the bear, buddy. Let me tell you.
He goes, rank the teams from most or like your who you think's the best out of who you think's the least. Nobody bid on that one. So
Crickets, man. It was like crickets.
You mean Cassie would say, we're kicking everybody's ass.
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, there's only one team in the place, and we got 307 in here. So
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, brothers, we're gonna wish y'all the best of luck. Be praying for all of you for sure, man. Because
thank you.
Hunting in New
Yeah,
Mexico,
thank you.
anywhere in New Mexico is special. It's near and dear in mine and Joe's heart. And RC, I promise you, RC been all over the world of New Mexico and hunted on some of the most famed ranches and guided on some of the most famed ranches there. So it's the Mecca to me. I've hunted in a couple other states, but for me, man, New Mexico is the Mecca for sure.
Yeah.
We look forward to the challenge. We've never
Oh, yeah.
been to New Mexico, so it'll be a fun experience.
Can you say whether it's northern or southern New Mexico?
Well, it's about central New Mexico, and
cool.
and the interesting thing is this hunt unit. I've compared this hunt unit to one of the units that we have hunted in that had a very high success rate. I think because maybe we had something to do with that, but
There's no doubt.
It's not too far north, not too far south, close to the bottom edge, but not too far from the top edge either, and somewhere around in the middle is where you find.
Yep.
So if you guys want some hints on how to get there,
I don't think it became any secret. Joe lives in Cimarron, so nobody was fooled about that. That's for sure.
it takes about 2 to 4 hours to get in there. But but what I wanted to say was this area that they are hunting kind of equates as far as unit to unit, as far as number of elk. But the unit that they're in actually has a higher bull to cow ratio.
Oh,
So.
man.
Yeah, it's I think
That was slay some dragons. Bull.
that's good because the tag is only for a bull elk, correct?
correct. Oh no, it's either sex. It's New Mexico. It's either sex. But
Yeah.
I know that
No, but I mean for the
name of the
competition.
game is for the bull. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's for either sex, right? The tag is.
Yeah.
I think all New Mexico archery tags are either sex, but I'm not sure far as what these guys are wanting to do there, you know. And so Cassidy, I haven't heard you call at all, man. I haven't seen a recording of you call. Are you dodging me, bro?
No, I've been busy. Maybe I am. Maybe I am dodging.
You should be, Cassidy. Don't fall into that game. You'll get it. He'll get in your head, man, and then you'll get out to the woods, and you won't even want to make a sound because then you'll hear Joe's voice in the back of you. Oh my God, that's horrible!
Don't do that.
Scare them off.
Yeah,
Right?
These guys.
Have you met Cole Wilkes and Eric Aragon already?
Let's see.
We met Eric on the Zoom last week,
Oh, cool.
but not Cole. So.
Solid dude. Cole's
Yeah.
a solid dude, man, and an unbelievable elk caller, dude.
Yeah, and both of them are going to be at our coaching session tomorrow. So,
Nice.
I'm excited about that, man. We'll
I
see
didn't
how
get
that
no
goes.
invite to no coaching session tomorrow, Joe. I mean,
I
are
don't
you ready for the Big O challenge?
I don't have enough square room right now.
That's right.
I'm a big boy.
you just need round room.
Exactly. Round is the shape.
Oh,
round
shut
is
up! I meant all
That's
of.
messed up, Joe. That's just messed up. I can't believe you brought that up, man. I mean, that's just not right.
I meant slots for squares.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh my God. Hey, so are you guys ready? Are you prepared, or where do you feel like you're at? The excitement level? The shooting level? Everything. Where do you guys feel like you're at right now? You ready to hunt?
I
I
think
think
I'm
we're
ready
doing
to hunt.
good. Oh yeah.
Cassidy's sitting outside a camper somewhere. I want to know where the hell he's at.
Oh yeah, lovely Farson.
Oh, okay. What you doing out there?
Working.
Working.
Oh, really?
That's why it's hard to get a hold of him, man. He's always in where there's no cell service and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I sure appreciate you guys jumping on with us this evening.
Absolutely.
We want to wish you the best of luck. I'm having such a blast with these guys, coaching them every week. And they're just, I get texts, I get videos from them, I get questions, and they're just excited, pumped. And that just gets me even more excited and pumped, man. So
Very excited.
All the best, man. Just remember, it's all about memories.
Have any of you ever killed a bull yet?
Oh yeah, we come off a really good year in a general unit. Cassidy, what was your bull in that unit a couple years back?
Last year's.
Yeah.
Last year's was 340 something.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
He had a
Nice.
I had a 331.
in
Yep.
New Mexico?
No, Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Wyoming. Man, that's
Yep.
awesome, fellas.
Wyoming.
Congrats.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I shot one with my bow. It was 385 and 7/8.
Holy crap.
Wow.
In Wyoming.
Yeah. There's
Oh,
some
yeah.
big boys up in these areas. So
Yep.
Awesome,
Oh,
fellas.
man.
yeah. Yeah.
Are y'all all draw tags up there?
Not
no,
all. There are some general.
Cool.
Yep.
So I'm we don't have the other guys here right now, and I know they don't listen to or watch the podcast. So who do you think is the stiffest competition?
Yeah, they don't watch the podcast.
I'm straight up right now picking Dustin and Cassidy, dude. So they got the first lick. So I'm riding with you boys tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. First to be on the podcast, first to shoot.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Go.
100. Joe had
Number
y'all
one
first,
all the
so he
way.
thinks y'all are the best.
Oh
100.
yeah, always.
I guarantee us what.
Oh, boys, we're hoping to see you again. Maybe we can get all you guys on the podcast, and we definitely got to do something after the show, and maybe a little bit before you guys hit the woods, man. So,
Yep.
peace from the Bros crew, and I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow.
All the best,
See
guys.
you later.
Yeah,
Best of luck. Great to meet you.
All right,
Keep
guys,
grinding.
Pleasure to meet you guys.
y'all have a great evening. Great
Dude,
news,
It
huh?
was awesome, Joe. Thanks
That's
for having
awesome.
us on with us.
Yeah, that was cool.
Man,
They are just, all these guys, man, it's so cool to get a chance to, and like I told them, they're all our athletes. They're all our team. Our goal is to get some elk hitting the ground, get these guys to be successful and have some stories and some things to tell and have some interaction that the viewers are going to learn a lot from. And if we do that, it is just a huge win-win. And,
Right.
Hunt Wars is so cool just because of the rules, dude, that they have. I mean, it's awesome that, you know, sure, they're going to go off gross score, but they're going off of, you get double whatever the age is. So, you know, you get more points for maturity. And then if you shoot over 40 yards for each bit you shoot over, that's a penalty, man. So the goal is to make that close, clean, accurate kill, man. So,
hey, Joe, so for the selection process, is the draw for the interviews random?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So everybody puts in their $100 and it basically becomes, okay, we're going to start pulling 4 names out for the elk hunt. Boom, boom, boom. It's the lottery for that. And then they go to the deer hunts, and then they go to the antelope hunts. And I don't know if it's in that order, but that's how they do it. They just pull them out. And I do know that before they announce who wins it, they actually do that doesn't work, but they actually do a interview thing to make sure that, you know, that the principles of the competition are what the contestants value, or that they're going to be okay with it. Because if they're not, like, they don't have any drinking in camp, you know, they talk about what they do ethically, you know, what type of shots they're looking for. So, you know, they want to make sure everybody's on the same base. And if they are, then everything goes through like that.
Man, I want to apply.
Yeah, and we were exempt, bro. So.
I think we're exempt.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
The hell?
Because we're we're exempt.
Maybe exempt for elk, but not something else.
Well, so I wanted to talk to you about the whitetail deal. They had that open, but man, if I did that, my son would disown me, man. You know, and again, like I said, I'm gonna be shedding some of this stuff that I got going on, and we're gonna have a little more time to do things like that.
There we go, bro.
Like it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Let's rock.
Man, look, I think the concept is so cool, and I'm really jealous of these guys that are being able to do it. Because I'm telling you, man, I'm going to tell you straight up how this got all situated. I text Joe, and I said, "Hey, man, what do you think about me and you teaming up and going on this deal?" Right? And then it's serious business. That's how it got started. Yep. And then Joe just took the ball and ran with it, dude. And then all of a sudden, here we are. We're going to be the coaches on Hunt Rules. It started out me texting Joe, "Hey, Joe, man, I'm serious. Check this out. What do you think about this? Me and you, let's go elk hunting. Let's kill this thing. Go win the championship, right?" And Joe was like, "Dude, let me check this out." He was coming back from a trip or something like that. And then before I know it, he's going, "Oh, bro, you know, we're not only going to be a part of it, we're going to coach it." I'm like, "What, Joe?" Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, it was unbelievably cool. I'm very jealous that these guys get to do this, because it is going to be, I say jealous. I'm in it. Right?
Yeah.
There's
in a positive way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No malice behind it.
I'm going to be in these guys' corners, you know, Dustin and his partner, dude. That's going to be, Cassidy. It's going to be sweet. These boys, I can tell they're elk hunters, man. No doubt. They done put some bulls down, and them boys better be quaking in their boots on them other teams, because these cats are strong, brother.
Well, you notice that Cassidy's last name is Real. And that's why he's calling, man. He just like, just
reeling them in.
That's what they call your partner sits behind you in a F-16. You're real, brother.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Sure. Right on, man. All right, let's get moving.
Sounds good, Joe. Well, guys, y'all know what time it is. It's time for
shout out time.
These are just shout out to a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week, Joe.
And we're going to have a special shout out, man, because this happened yesterday. I had a good friend of Chav's and mine gives me a call yesterday to tell me that he's you ought to see our buddy Ed Chick is his name, and Ed is built like a Mack truck, man. He's always in the gym working out and stuff. And he gives me a call, and he says he's working out at the gym there in Pueblo, Colorado. And, you know, he has a guy working out over there, and they start having a conversation. And I don't know how it got to it, but somehow he started talking about Chav's journey that he's been on in the last year. And he talked about how, you know, he's come from basically well, he was paralyzed.
Yeah.
Going from not being able to walk to where he is now. And he said, yeah, you know, my buddy Leroy Chavez. And he said the guy got a funny look on his face. And he kind of looked and he said, I've heard that name before.
The ninja?
And he's like, does he have a buddy, Joe Giglia? He says,
yeah, there you go.
That's him. Yeah,
That's him.
are these the guys from ElkBros? And Ed goes, yeah, they're from ElkBros. He's like, what? He goes, I listen to them all the time. I do not miss an episode.
That's awesome.
He said he just started going off, and Ed was like, you know, he was so excited and everything for the guy. And he's like, well, yeah. You know, and then Ed was like, oh yeah, they're friends of mine, you know. Because he said Ed called me and he says, Joe, man, he said, could you please give a big ElkBros shout out to a fan that never misses your show, man? So here is a huge thanks and shout out to grinder Rafael Gonzalez from Pueblo, Colorado, man. We appreciate it.
Very cool.
Peace, Rafael. Thanks so much, man, for listening to our show and running into Mr. Ed Chick. And no doubt, buddy, you got the Elk Ninja sitting right here, and Joe Giglia, Mr. Giggles himself.
Yeah.
He's right here, bro. So,
He was just getting Joe on the front end because he butchered his name too. Rafael Gonzalez.
Rafael.
Terrible.
There you go.
He called me Giglia, so Rufial Gonzalez.
You know, Joe, it brings me back to when we first started the podcast and everything. And we're on the mountain and sitting there, and these guys walk in on us after we get done calling and everything, and walk in on us, and they're like, man, you know, I can hear them talking to Joe, and they one of them's talking to Joe, and the other guy kind of splits off, and he comes walking over there to where we were. Were you with me, Luis, when the guy walked in? Or was it?
No, but I remember the story.
Yeah.
I remember. I was there.
Chav was with me, and the guy
Yeah.
up, and the guy goes, hello, you know, so and so, and he goes, and I start talking, and he goes, hey man, I know you. What are you talking about? He goes, you're the ElkBro, brother. He said, you're big O. He said, you're Gilbert. I said, yeah, that's me, dude. I said, that's Chav right there. I said, that's Chav. He goes, oh my God, we're in the woods with the ElkBros. He goes, man, you really wear those? He goes, you really wear those boots you were talking about, man? He goes, Amadeo Soto. And he stuck his hand out. And where was the guy from, Joe? From Springer? Something like
Springer.
I can't wait till Amadeo hears that accent. You gave him
Yeah.
bro. You made him sound like he was from Mora.
Yeah, he's from Springer, right?
That happened to us. Was it last year, Joe, or the year before last too?
I think it was last year, and when the guy, it was some real great guys from Missouri, a couple brothers from Missouri, and it was funny.
It's crazy, man.
When he goes. He looks and he goes, you're Manano, when he says, and Manano like reaches for his pistol. Manano's
freaked out, man. And he's like, and you're Luis, and you're Joe. And I'm like, because Joe knows everybody. So every time we bump into a hunter, you know, Joe knows them. So when he goes, you're Joe, you can see Joe's wheels turning. Like, dude, I don't recognize you. And I'm like, oh. But then when he said, and you're Luis, and you're Manano, I'm like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? So super weird.
And when he heard me talk, he goes, I know you.
It was actually the year before last, because they gave us that maple syrup that they made, and I gave all you guys that syrup from there last year. So
I don't know. I never got any syrup.
It was good, Joe. Thank you so much.
I think Manano got it all.
Yeah. He
got
kept
mine.
it.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Moonshine is what he did.
Hey, I was so taken back, man, when he said, I know you. I've heard your voice before. I was like, oh my God. I'm telling you, Chad was like, what? You got to know us.
And now, guys, for our top listening cities. Gilbert.
Check this out, guys. If the ElkBros can make it here, we can make it anywhere. This week's top listening city is one of the largest and most famous in the whole world, known for its quintessential green space Central Park and the Statue of Liberty, amongst countless attractions. It consists of 5 boroughs: Brooklyn's, Queens, Staten Island, and the Bronx, and Manhattan itself. It is often referred to as the Big Apple, none other than New York City, New York. Oh, man. I'm telling you what.
I would have been thrown out on a loop when I read quintessential, man. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
That's Chav, man. That's Chav.
Spell them big words, Luis.
Don't ask me to spell that.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm ready for the big apple. New York, New York. I'm ready for that big apple.
Fellas, we played 3 teams from Staten Island, Long Island, and New Jersey when we were down there in South Carolina. I'm telling you, that it is a beautiful state up there in New York. I've been up there several times. St. Louis, we had a coach come from St. Louis, way up in the northern part of New York, and New York City is an unbelievable thing. If you've never been there, it never sleeps. I promise you. Well, Luis, go ahead, brother. You're next.
Yeah, I was going to go with the next city. So the 3rd oldest city in Illinois. Today's next up listening city serves as the headquarters for Prairie Farms Dairy, Inc., one of the largest dairy cooperatives in the United States and ranked in the top 10 of the largest privately held companies in the St. Louis area. Family Circle magazine named this city 3rd on their top 10 best towns for families in the United States, none other than Edwardsville, Illinois.
Edwardsville.
Man, that is awesome. The Midwest is always showing up here, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, up next, this city is known for its historic downtown, elegant Victorian-style homes, and one of Michigan's top-rated public school systems. CNN Money lists the city 27th in its Best Places to Live survey. Founded by Quakers and first named Quakertown, the town is situated at the intersection of 3 Native American trails: the Orchard Trail, the Grand River Trail, and the Shiawassee Trail. And that's Farmington, Michigan.
Farmington, Michigan.
Okay, Gilbert, what part of the hand is that in, man?
So it's right in there.
Oh, man, right in the middle, huh?
Central. Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right.
Farmington.
Okay. Hey, Luis, you're gonna have to turn your mic on, dude, because your partner in crime isn't here to do the next city, so you're gonna have to take it over. You're responsible for him, man.
He doesn't deserve my backup. So this city is located in the East Bay subregion of the San Francisco Bay Area. It sits on an underground fault and was devastated by an earthquake in 1868. The city was settled by Guillermo Castro as part of the Spanish land grant. Castro ended up losing his land in a card game and migrated to Chile. That's crazy. Legend has it that the town was named after the winner of the card game, Hayward, California.
Hayward, California.
Oh, that's a cool story.
What a story. So my question is, I mean, how does Hayward call Castro? I mean, the guy's like, okay, I'm going to put up a whole town. I'm pushing my town into the pot, man.
I have the deed here on my hand by chance.
What does he call with, man?
The land grant. Yeah.
Crazy, man, because it's right on the bay there. It's just south of Oakland, so it's right there in the bay. So pretty wild how they decided they were going to put it in a card game.
Yeah, well, heck yeah. And I mean, you lose. I guess you got to leave to go someplace, man. If you lose like that, oh my God.
Yeah, they did.
What's that?
They did name a neighboring town Castro Valley, so his name's still in that area.
Oh, so they had sympathy name there, huh? Today's last top listening city is the capital of the United States. Do you guys hear this?
Wow.
Yeah, this is top listening city of the ElkBros is the capital of the United States. In addition to being the center of the United States government, it is known for its incredible history. The city limits include many historic national monuments and famous museums like the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the National Mall, the United States Capitol, and the Smithsonian Institute, among many, many others. And
let me guess, this is Houston.
Right.
Cimarron, New Mexico. No.
Yeah, there you go.
Washington, D.C., man, in the house. It's like.
Thank you, Washington.
Washington. Columbia.
When I got to send those to Chav, I was like, really? New York City,
Yes.
Washington, D.C., in our top listening group. I was like, that is just so doggone cool, man. Now, Edwardsville and Farmington, Hayward, I'm not saying y'all's peanuts now. Don't send me no letter.
Farmington's just west there of Detroit on its way to central Michigan there. So they're not, I'm sure, being outside of Detroit, they're no little small town, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely not, man. All right, guys, let's get rocking with tonight's topic. So the topic, rifle hunting elk during the rut. What does that look like? And, I mean, one of our listeners, Shane Rasmussen, sent this in and said, you guys are always talking about hunting the rut with the bow. Yeah. And we got other groups that hunt the rut with, we have muzzle loaders that hunt, we have rifle hunters. So I think a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about now with the rifle, and, all of that applies, archery applies to the hunting with the rifle. The rifle applies to hunting with the muzzle loader. The archery applies to hunting with the muzzle loader. So you take from these things the things that are going to work for your area and the skill set that you got. So, so first thoughts on hunting the rut with a rifle, guys, is let's talk about how is it different or how is it the same as hunting with archery equipment?
Well, I mean, as far as how is it different or the same with hunting with a bow, Joe?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as a bow hunter, you want to get them within that magical 40 yards, right? I think everybody with a rifle, 200 yards is your magical 40 yards. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, the challenge of having to just hunt in the thicker parts of places and not let yourself, glass and view parks and stuff like that's so different. You can really use your optics and stuff like that to ambush bulls that are going to be in parks with cows, and you don't have to worry about crossing that park and scaring them. You can shoot across the park. Yeah. So, I mean, you triple, 10 times your distance bow hunting. I mean, it's really an unbelievable deal how you don't have to worry about being in tight. You can actually, call those critters in a couple hundred yards. And
now there's going to be some guys up in some parts of Idaho, Gilbert, that are going to say, man, that is where it's so thick in the timber in there that your optics are pretty much done away with. So I think some of that actually depends on the area that you're at too, right?
Can they hunt in Idaho in September with a rifle?
I have no idea, but if they, I know in Colorado they have on that Ranching with Wildlife, they can hunt during September there. A lot of these states have some special draws for youth that can hunt during that time. Some for disabilities and different things that are allowed to hunt during that time. And some of them I know some ranches get to hunt, but that's going to be private places there.
So
But
the calling would be the same, Joe. I mean, you're going to be calling to the bull, and the calling part's the same. It's just, your distance. You don't have to be so tight in your cover. You can actually hunt parks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where they're transitional areas. And
With regards to the calls, I was going to say the same thing there, Beto. The behavior of the animal doesn't change, right? It's the same elk,
Amen.
same time of year. Their behaviors are exactly the same. Their responses will be the same. So, I mean, if you understand the behavior, then you can certainly set yourself up with the equipment that you're planning to shoot. If you're, are an archer, then the way we like to hunt them is areas where we can get close to them. Obviously, open parks don't work for that.
We've been in an open park and want to call one across, and he was 125 yards from us, and we ain't gonna take that shot, right?
Right, and then as a rifle is a different story, right? I mean, you can play the terrain to your favor as well. You'll have more advantage, especially if it's during the same time. Now, in the rut, I would think. So,
do me a favor and push your mic down a little more, bro.
I said this 1,000 times. I've been with R.C. Knox muzzleloaded and hunting, and I'm like, Jiminy Christmas, if we only had these opportunities, with a rifle.
How many times do bow hunters say that? I mean, I guarantee you there's not a bow hunter listening right now that hasn't been out there hunting and gone, dude, if I had a rifle,
We'd be done.
Yeah.
We'd be done, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd tag out in the first 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about our first day archery hunting last year. I killed that 7x7 looking at me straight on at 80 yards, and he is smoked. I mean, I shoot him right in the crease where the patch meets the chester, and poof, we let the air out of that bull, man. You know what I'm talking about? My 300 Ultra Mag, it's over.
So, RC, you guided on the ranch for years, man, doing the rifle and doing the archery. Did your tactics change?
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. During the archery season, during the bow, it's a whole different ballgame. You've got an animal that's talking to you. You're going to make a move. You're going to try to get in, and if he gets in the trees, you don't worry about it. You just go, okay, cool. Now we're on. Now you can move on. With a rifle, to me it was a whole different ballgame because I don't want to get in the dark timber or bedroom or anything like that with the rifle. I'm going to try to set up to where to me it's more of a waiting game. I mean, early in the morning you got a chance to where they're moving up, or you can get ahead of them and maybe get a park or something like that. But in the evenings, it's just you just hope that you got enough time, and you generally do. The bull's going to come out, and but you want them in the park.
I'm going to throw this caveat in there is that you were on private property. So that brings a little bit different feel to the whole thing. Sometimes that waiting game gets disturbed by other people out there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I know it's definitely different. And Gilbert, you brought up something that was real important. You said that, you're shooting 10 times further than what you do with the bow, right? So now the safety factor changes a little bit because you are hunting during the rut. And if you are calling and you have a rifle and you're sounding like an animal, there's some things that you had better be sure of if you're out there calling during the rut. Number one, I definitely would be, and I'm sure every state, if you're hunting with a rifle, you got to have a certain percentage of orange on you, right? And I do not think I would be hunting in a tan jacket at all. I wouldn't be doing that.
Orange.
Yeah, and even the same rules apply with the bow, but it's even more so with the rifle, that is so critical that before you pull a trigger or shoot an animal, that you absolutely know what the background is, or you're never shooting on a skyline, because that whole safety factor part of it changes a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yes.
I mean, I just want to put that out there. That's not like strategies or anything, but it's just one way that changes, because I think that in some ways the goals of the two are the same. You know, get a response, determine the location, get in the best shooting position, and then close the deal, right? So in that way, they're the same. But to me, it's kind of like what RC was saying, that the goals, though, of the archer and the rifle hunter can be, not always, because there's some people that hunt with a rifle just like you hunt with a bow, and they're going to chase those bugles. They're going to go in and they're going to try to get an 80-yard shot, 70-yard shot, 50-yard shot, you know, whatever it is, when they're chasing that bugle to get that animal. But really the goals for the archer is they want the thicker the better. They want to get them in the timber, like what RC was talking about. And then for the rifle, the more open the better. They want to get them in the open or the thinly treed areas or the brushy, you know, ridge vegetation where they can spot them or glass them up and then get in position for a shot. So yeah, I think in some ways they're similar and you can go with that. In some ways that they're different. So if you, RC, had a rifle hunter on state land and you got to do what we said, you got to, you know, get a response, determine location, get in best shooting position. Would you be starting at that animal's level? Let's say it's first thing in the morning. Would you be starting chasing that bugle at that animal's level? Would you try to be at a higher elevation? What would be in your mindset?
I think that you would have to be, like you say, you know, you could, as an archer, you don't ever want to be chasing them up the hill.
Right?
But with a rifle, there's a possibility that you might get an open shot or something like that. But I'm still going to go with the plan that, you know, if I can get you within 100 yards or 80 yards, I know that you're going to do a good job. So I'm going to go in, you know, and try to create that. So I'm saying that, you know, if you got to get ahead of them or if you got to get on the side of them or whatever to be able to get that one open shot. And that's the difference between that and a bow. A bow, you got to be, you know, 40 yards. And with a rifle, there's a lot of times you guys know that when you're walking alongside of them or trying to get, you know, parallel with them, you've got that 100-yard shot.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. You're hunting in September with a rifle. You got critters that are bugling. Do you call or don't call?
With the rifle, you said?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if they're bugling and you're with the rifle, I mean, if you can close the gap without having to make a sound, you know, you take that opportunity to see if you can get a visual at a distance enough to take the shot without having to call.
So why are you carrying a grunt tube and a diaphragm with you then during the rifle? I mean, during a September hunt with the rifle?
Is they're quiet.
Yeah, a lot of times in the early part of the rut, Joe, they don't they won't answer, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, if you
Just
get one
location.
yeah, just the location or whatever, and you know where his location is, you're going to slip in there on him. And a lot of times you won't ever have to make a sound with the rifle. If you get within 200 yards of him and you put eyes on him, he's a dead bull. You know, you don't have to call to him. You know, you use your wind and use the terrain, get yourself in position. He's normally going to either be in a bachelor group of other bulls or he's going to have a few cows with him and stuff like that. And, you know, if he's sounding off all the time, well, you know, he's got cows with him, right? So then you might want to, if you can't get to where you can see him, the wind won't let you or whatever, then you might want to see if you can call his cows to you, get him to show himself. Same thing with us. You know, when we're bow hunting, you know, but I've said this 1,000 times. If I can put eyes on a bull, and I got the wind in my favor, I don't even have to say a word. I'm killing him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna slip in there, put the Mohican sneaking on him, and I've done it several times. You know, got within 12 feet of them. You know, I mean, serious business, son. I mean, get right in their kitchen. So it can be done. You got to use your woodsmanship and be slow about your movements. And time of day makes a lot of difference.
And wear the Velcro camouflage.
Absolutely.
You're shaved.
I think that I use it mostly to stop the bull. I mean, you know, they're generally moving or something like that, and you want to make sure you don't have any cows around him, and he moves out and he's moving really fast or something, and you can throw a scream at him and he's going to stop. Right
And
there.
turn broadside.
Broadside, yeah.
Like, give it to me, fella.
Yeah.
So I've had guys and I've got a real good friend that says, you know, hunt smart, not hard. And, you know, he says that the best thing to do is to get a high point, get your optics out and find them boogers, you know,
Exactly.
and then move in on them. But, you know, I think there's
Depends on the type of the time of the year.
Absolutely. I agree with you, man, because
And most of those guys that are hunting in the rut with a rifle are going to be later in that hot part of the rut, Joe. That first part, last week of September, first part of October.
October, yep.
Yeah, and dude, it is like on fire. You know,
Yeah.
I've been privy to me and RC been together on some of the most epic freaking muzzleloader hunts that other people can hunt with a rifle, but we couldn't. And I'm telling you straight up, dude, it is bonkers.
Does it change muzzle loader to rifle? I mean, I mentioned that before. Does it change? Do you feel like there's a difference in tactics?
I like to hunt with a muzzleloader because it's just like when I hunt with a muzzleloader, I'm thinking that we're bow hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want that 50-yard shot.
But can't you think the same way with a rifle?
You can hunt that way, Joe, but you don't have to because you got distance to be your
We
friend.
got the long range.
Yeah, and you can hunt parks where you know, like RC said, you can hunt parks where you know they're going to chase the cows down to and mill around and eat in the evenings and early in the mornings. That's where they're going to be. I mean, first bull I ever called in and killed with a muzzleloader was in a big, huge park full of elk early in the morning in a 50-mile-an-hour gale wind. Right. And we stalked within like 130 yards of that sucker and knocked him down 5 times. I mean, it was crazy, man. But seriously, there was 30 bulls down there with the whole rest of them. And we didn't kill the biggest one. We killed the oldest and nastiest looking one. My friend, Jeremy Christopherson, he loved that bull, you know. And we were snuck in there on him, Joe. You know,
and you bring up another point. I mean, you guys were right on them at daylight. So locating them in the dark like we do with the archery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so no, we didn't because the wind was so bad. We just kept easing forward 40 yards at a time. And I would scream a location bugle and a cow call. Okay. And I mean, it was crazy because we just keep easing forward about 40 yards, making sure the wind is, you know, it was gassing so hard. I don't think it really mattered, but we were right into the wind. And we kept easing up through the dark timber part on the side of a ridge, not down in the middle of it, up on the side of it. So we're really
when we follow Joe, he gasses pretty bad too.
You know what? I was listening today to Western Contours. Shout out to Guy Duplanche. I was listening to Western Contours. You guys got to listen to the latest one that they had on high altitude sickness. It's a great podcast, man. Yeah, you know, Guy knocks it out of the park with his guest there. But his guest he specializes in high altitude sickness, has studied it, been in the Himalayas, done all this. And interesting fact is that at high altitude, you have more gas because
you live in high altitude, dude, and you got more gas than we do. Flatlanders do.
Question. Have you ever bought a bag of potato chips at
Oh, yeah.
or 6,000 feet and gone up to 8,000. What happens to
Yeah.
that bag of potato chips?
Almost all our bags burst.
The moment you open it, it's all back to normal. You for some reason keep on giving it for 10 days.
Hey,
Well, we'll just take a knife and punch him.
Exactly.
Relieve some of that, like a bloated cow, you know.
And it might be a hazard.
Rib and you punch it right there.
Yeah.
We might have to call a team of hazmat if that happens, man.
but to all our listeners, if you have not, I'm telling you, if any of you are going from low altitude to high altitude, go listen to Western Contours. It just came out this morning, and so today is the 4th of August. It was either today or yesterday that it came out, and on altitude sickness, it is great information to help you so that you don't have to go through that when you get on there. Okay, so
Getting back to what I was telling you, Joe, is we would move forward every 40 yards, right, and call. And I let out a bugle, and when I let out a bugle, it sounded like a bull was fixing to run me over, right? And I'm like, being with it windy like that, you know they were close. Because, I mean, wow, I'm like, I looked at Jeremy, he looked at me, and he's like, what do we do now? You know, I'm serious. We're like, what do we do now? I'm like, dude, it's got to be right there. So we just eased into some of the jack pines and easing around. And, man, as soon as we popped out, and they were in this little pocket, so the wind was breaking it. And there was probably, 75 head of elk in there with about 25 bulls. I mean, unbelievable. And I'm like, dude, which one do we pick? You know, he goes, I'm going to pick the closest, biggest one. And this bull was all black and muddy, and he'd been fighting like crazy with all the other ones. He come roaring up in there at about 134 yards, and I ranged him in. Dude, he put the slam on him with that 50 cal muzzle loader. And he got up, Joe. I've never seen a bull do this. He shot that bull 5 times, and R.C. Knox can attest to it. He hit him every time in the pocket. I'm talking like in the boiler room, and that bull got up. 5 times that bull got up. You know how hard it is to load a muzzle loader 5 times?
Especially after
Jeremy on the ramrod trying to get that thing loaded again.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it was
Especially
crazy.
after the third one, it's like, forget it.
I have a question. When you guys cleaned that bull, just for my own sake of wrapping my head around this, you know, I know all those bullets were in the pocket on that one side. Were they pass-throughs?
A couple were pass-throughs, but most of them did not.
Most of them weren't. No.
Yeah.
Most of them were. They were buried in the skin on the backside.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
he got, 4 of them, I think, back and got
Right.
one past.
How far was the shot?
134 yards on the first one. Yeah, and look, we used 3 big pellets. I mean, look, when he hit him the first time, I'm telling you, man, bull did a backflip. Like we were high-fiving and dog-piling, and the bull got up, son. I mean, when he shot him the first time, down goes Frazier, and Frazier got up. I'm like, what in the world? I said, well, man, we got to put another one in him. So we're trying to reload that thing, man. He just walks up the hill, and he beds down under a big pine tree. I'm like, oh, hey, man, at any time, then he's going to die.
Yeah, they're pretty tough animals. Yeah.
Son, let me tell you. He got up after being under that pine tree for 20 minutes. I'm radioing for help and stuff like that. And Mr. Carl Gammons told me, if the bull's got his head up, shoot him again. I'm like, Carl, he got me like 5 reps. Shoot him again. I'm like, Carl don't want to be chasing no bull, man. But at that same time, R.C. Knox has knocked a giant bull down, right? I mean, it was crazy. We killed 4 bulls that morning. That muzzleloader morning, it was chaos.
Wow.
I'm telling
That's cool.
Yeah,
not even 5 bulls.
I got a question, Joe. With regards to the rifle hunting, so yes, and I've been, actually I was with Beto. We had an experience. I was hunting with a rifle, and there was a lot of glassing taking place, right? And so, but one of the things I noticed then was that if you can glass and you can actually see elk in certain areas, but the terrain made it to where we really couldn't get to those areas, right? And even if we tried to, you would lose the perspective of where the animal was, and maybe by the time you even got there, they wouldn't be there either. Obviously, this wasn't during the rut, but
Right after it, though.
It was after. And then obviously the question is, how hard is it? Like if you're in the rut, you really have to know your terrain. In order to be able to glass and make the full benefit of glassing, and then be able to sneak in to these animals if they're far away. Because if you don't, then you're lost on the attempt.
Well,
John,
it depends, though, man. That's where having a good partner and you guys having good hand signals and using something like your base map is critical. Because I mean, you take like base map, you take our base map GPS. I have that animal standing right out in front of me. I'm able to look at it, and it does that navigation line that goes out. And it marks exactly how far that animal is, because you can pretty much look at it, look where you have out there. You can range it to find the distance. So now all you got to do is take your base map thing and just go right towards in the direction. You look at the distance and you mark exactly on your base map where that animal is. Now you keep your partner right there. You guys are communicating, and you go on if you have to go a doggone mile, and if they're bedded, right? It just depends on the situation.
Right.
And if that means if you have to go a mile around, now you have exactly where that critter is in your hand right there. And if that animal has gotten up, all he's got to do is give you a signal. Has he gone to the right? Is he still in the same place? Has he got up and left? Is he over to that side? I mean, they just got to give you the hand signals to help guide you as to what's happened, or communicate if you have a walkie-talkie, or if you're texting or something like that. I mean, with the tools that we have today, and you're able to spot it, and you have a rangefinder, dude, and with base map, there is no reason you should ever lose that animal, okay, at all. And I know what you're talking about, because especially through binos, you can look at something through binos, and that ground between you and that animal changes completely.
Yeah.
It changes completely.
I'm telling you, this will be my 12th season hunting elk, and I guarantee you I'd be 11 for 11 if I had a rifle in my hand every day.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'll be 11 for 11, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, yeah. So that's why I was going to say, though, Gilbert, to me, I think if anybody that had a rifle in their hand hunted like a bow hunter, they're going to kill an elk.
Absolutely.
For
Especially if they
me,
can hunt during the rut, Joe.
yeah, I mean, if you're just going to go to a high point, and it depends on the terrain. You get out there in areas of Arizona, you get in some of the sage flats, and you get into some of these rolling places in the prairies and stuff I think that's like also in Wyoming out there. I've even seen in the Dakotas, and even here in New Mexico, where you can get at a high point and you can just glass until you find that critter where he's bedded. But that's usually the later hunt again. When you're talking rut, they're talking to you. And what I was going to tell Luis is, if that animal is bedded down, and even if I looked and I know, and my partners tell me he's right there, he hasn't moved, and I look and I'm like, well, I don't have a shot, I'm not able to see him. Shoot, man, it's the rut, man. I'm gonna give a doggone challenge bugle, and I guarantee you
forward.
He's gonna stand up.
Throw it back and move forward.
I'm going to tell you right now, every muzzleloader hunt I've ever been on, and every rifle hunt during the rut, I've been on several rifle hunts during the rut in October, right there in the border of Colorado, New Mexico area. Everyone, 100%. And every one of the shots were within 125 yards.
Yeah.
Or less. I mean, I called a bull in for Randy Thomas, and Randy shot that bull at 77 yards. And probably could have shot him at 40 if we'd just let him keep walking.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, if you hunt that way with a rifle, you're going to be very, very successful, man. Because you don't have to get him into 40 yards. If he's within 80 yards and you can see that much of the kill zone.
He's bugling, man. Exactly. He's telling you where he's at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would be 100% 11 for 11. Big old bulls, man. Straight up big ones. Ain't no midgets. All big ones.
Grinders tuning in, thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Podcast. Our goal is to share our knowledge and help you flatten that learning curve so that you too can have some of the very same incredible experiences that have given all of us here at ElkBros a lifetime of memories. If you like what you hear or see, you can get all of this information plus so much more from our Base Camp Elk Hunting Training Camp, the first in a series of online courses from our Blue Collar Elk Academy. Our Base Camp Training Camp allows me to use my coaching style and share almost 40 years of elk hunting experiences successfully hunting elk on public lands, as well as over 20 years guiding hunters of all ages and experience levels. This course will be like nothing you have ever experienced in concept and structure, using success-based coaching techniques that will elevate your confidence and skill sets. Our camp will prepare you specifically from that final moment most in your control, those final minutes or seconds the elk is in front of you, backwards through each step and level, allowing you to see, visualize, understand, and relate every coaching point to what lies ahead, the next step, the next thought process, the next success. Because y'all, you've already been there. You know what it looks like. By tapping my 30 years of teaching and coaching experience, our camps are developed considering multiple learning modes with text, visuals, audio, as well as video. And Base Camp will benefit those new to elk hunting all the way to the 10 to 15 year vet. So if you are looking for that one thing to help you fill that tag this year, invest in the most important piece of equipment there is, you and your elk hunting knowledge. You can find the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Academy and the Base Camp Training Camp at ElkBros.com. That's ElkBros.com. Keep dreaming of the screaming, believing in achieving, and most of all, keep grinding.
Yeah, last year, Brendan we'd have been shot out the first day. I called that bull back in 7 times. But 7 times I called that bull back in.
I think there's a huge problem when people put a firearm in their hand. And I have seen it in myself, in that sometimes you hunt differently. You hunt with this attitude of, well, I can reach out and touch them from 400 yards. And you almost act like that. And instead of being stealthy, or instead of cutting the distance and getting in on an animal, it's like, you just a little different. Look, Shane Rasmussen, if you want to know what it looks like out there when you're hunting with that rifle, besides the fact that you've got to be extra safe, man, you've got to make sure that, if you're going to call, that you've got that orange, you're not going to put yourself in a bad position, and you've got to know where that gun is shooting at all times. But basically, bud, I am hunting a ton like I've got a bow in my hand. And in doing that, now I'm going to have shots that, that I can make. And, in fact, I think some people, the problem is when they hunt like that is sometimes their shots are too close. They're too close.
Sure. Hey, Joe, talking about that, we want to make sure when we're in tight, when we're 40 yards and in, or let's say 60 yards and in, we dial that variable scope back on around 4.
Look, let's talk about possible failure tips, man. And I tell you what, I have my guys, when they're hunting with me, you're on 4X until we need to dial in, because there has been a crap load of elk over the, I don't know how much in the last century that have been killed with a 4X scope.
Been more people taken with a 4-power scope than anybody. Seriously, that's what they used to snipe with back in the day.
Offhand.
Power Weaver. Yeah, for sure. Again, the failure point with that is when you got it dialed up on 6 or 10, you can't find the animal.
You got his hair
black.
And you got his hair.
You got it, and you're like, you called him in. He's broadside, and you're like, I'm like, shoot him. I can't see him. I'm like, what do you mean? He's standing in front of you. Throw the gun at him.
I had a bull for a hunter. I had a bull with a friend of mine at 100 yards, standing broadside for over 3 minutes. before we had to give up because he couldn't find them in his scope. And he was just so shook up, he was all shook up and nervous. Come to find out, he had his scope dialed all the way up, man. And
14 or 24 or whatever it is.
Find the critter. So, it was just, and he was so shook up in his head. And then when he couldn't find it, he got more shook up that, it was just one of those things. So
That's one of the biggest failure points, man, is not being able to find that bull in your scope.
That's a big one. What's some other failure points that when we're rifle hunting? I'll tell you,
practicing. I was going to say practicing from different positions and using different props to lay the rifle on.
You bet.
I have people that come out all the time that are shooting off shooting sticks for the first time. Never shot up. I mean, they literally open up the package.
Yeah.
And take the shooting sticks, and they've never shot off them before. Now, not only is that weird for them to get to do, but the process of getting into your shot position takes a long time because they haven't worked at getting into their shot position, right? Or they haven't shot off a tree, or prone on a pack, or sitting on their knees, or I have friends of mine that they look at some people and they're like, he's 100 yards, pull up and pop me. Yeah, just shoot him, man.
If you can't hit a pie plate at 100 yards offhand, you probably need to keep practicing.
Which pin?
Yeah, which pin?
All of them.
But practice that. I mean, if you're a rifle hunter, I would doggone practice shooting something offhand at 100 yards, at 80 yards. I would absolutely be doing that, man. And I mean, if a bow hunter can shoot a target with an arrow at 100 yards, I guarantee you that you should be able to squeeze off one and put that bull down like right now. Okay, but
RC, can you think of something else, brother?
Oh, yeah, there's a couple things that, these guys are, you're going out and you went to the range and you shot your gun. And when you got it sighted in, and when you got back, you cleaned it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all good.
Yeah.
I think all guns need to be cleaned, but
After you hunt.
when you get to the field, or before you go out to the field, shoot your gun at least one time before going to the field. And in the second shot, make sure that it's where it's supposed to be, because the first shot ain't going to be there.
Right, especially when you
Got
got
to burned up the oils that are in your barrel.
You want to season the barrel.
Exactly. So that's a big point there. I think that they need to be able to do that. And
I'll add to that too, RC, is that a lot of these guys are sighting their guns in at low altitude and then coming to high altitude.
That makes a lot of difference.
When you get to camp. Gotta shoot it when you get to camp.
Yeah. It's no different than us shooting our bow, to having a judo point and shooting at a stump or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, before you go out, if you're coming from low altitude to high altitude, you better go shoot that gun, because it is going to be shooting differently, man.
And fellas, make sure you got more than one, 4 or 5 shells with you. Bring you a couple boxes of shells, and make sure that your box of shells, if it says
all the same,
all the same. It says 300 Win Mag. It better be a 300 Win Mag you're shooting, because you can shoot a 300 Win Mag out of a 300 Weatherby, but you can't shoot a 300 Weatherby out of a 300 Win Mag.
No.
So ask me how I know. My cousin tells me, Gilbert, I got a 300 Win Mag. Okay, cool. He said, I don't got no bullets to shoot no elk. I said, I got you, bro. I go and buy him 2 boxes of bullets, because I know we're going to shoot when we get to the camp. We drive into the camp at a beautiful ranch, man. Unbelievable bull that he killed. He killed a 417-inch bull. I mean, a giant, right? So anyway, he gets there and he shoots like 4 bullets, and I mean stacks them, right? But it just don't sound right. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? I say it don't sound right. It sounds okay. It's loud as all get out. And then he ejects a beautiful Seiko 300 Win Mag, right? It's a 300 Weatherby. All right. He shoots that Win Mag ammunition through that Weatherby, and it form fires the casing. I'm talking just swedges it out little bitty all the way.
Wow.
You know, where it necks down, they just made it all straight, right? So when we ejected a couple of them, Travis went over there and got it, and he goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "This bullet come out of your," he goes, "Man, is this an Ackley?" He looks at it like it's an Ackley improved. He looked at the bottom and he goes, "This, you shoot a Win Mag?" And Ty goes, "Yeah, I shoot a 300 Win Mag." Went over and looked at the side of the gun. Yeah, it's 300 Weatherby mag. Right. So luckily, some guys in our camp had a box of 300 Weatherby mag that he could shoot through it. Or he'd had to, I brought my 300 Ultra, but he wanted to shoot it with his daddy's gun. His daddy passed away, and that was his daddy's gun, and it meant the world to him. So those guys loaned him a box of shells, and he got it done, man. But always check your shells, brother.
I want to give out some other tips as far as some of the failure points that we're doing here. And as far as the call, like RC said, man, a call is a great way to stop an animal that's moving. And you guys have heard us say before that if that a bull has or elk have a fatal flaw, that they will stop and turn broadside. So even if you have shot and you spooked some animals, or some animals have seen you and they're running for the trees, get those trees ranged, man, because they are going to go to those trees. They're going to go 5 yards in. They're going to turn broadside and look back to see what's chasing or where they're at.
Yeah, what scared them. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I know it will, because I watched Steve Tucker blow the horn off of an elk, and I stopped him running up the backside of a hill with a daggum cow call. I mean, and the bull had been knocked down. We thought he slammed him. RC and I are high-fiving the whole 9 yards. Bull jumps up and takes off, and I stop him again at 150 yards, and Steve shoots 3 feet over his back. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? How did that
Tucker, you're not going to listen to this, man. He's like going, "Oh, man, they told my story."
Yeah, man, I'm telling you. But when we walked down there to go look for blood and everything, RC's like, oh, he knocked him down and got up and missed the second time, but he slammed him that first time. Dude, we walked down there, and the front of his front is laying in the dirt, and the dadgum perfect bullet of a Barnes peeled back bullet is laying right there next to it. Am I lying, RC Knox?
No, that's right.
That is a true story. The bullet is laying there, and we can see it laying there. And I'm hitting him in the horn.
Brings up another point, Bud, and for everybody listening. Look, anytime you shoot an elk and he drops in his tracks,
get ready.
You better get ready, man, because either that booger is spined or he is spine stung. Or he's been shot in his horn. We're talking about that'll do the same.
So we stopped him.
Knocked him out.
Yeah. We stopped him again, not 45 yards from where it knocked him down, because he heard another bugle cow call, and he just stops and turns broadside again. And I had. So anyway, Tucker gets another shot at him and shoots 3 feet over his back. And me and RC are looking at each other, and Tucker, I said, "What is up?" He goes, "There's something wrong with this gun." I said, "Dude, there ain't nothing
wrong with that gun."
I'm going to tell you straight up, you wild ass Canadian. There is nothing wrong with the guns. The next day we got together and we went down there and shot those guns. Carl Gammons laughed his ass off.
Part of the problem, though, is that he wasn't. Look, I always instruct people: anytime you're elk hunting and you take a shot, you're going to stay on that animal. You're racking another shot, staying on that animal, and you're ready for a follow-up. If that critter starts to get back up, you're going to put him down, man. You do not want an elk walking off and
we had a muzzleloader, so it takes a little bit of time to jack another.
Well, I'm talking rifle, man. Yeah, even that. I mean, you go through it could take some time, and then it's hard. You know, you're shooting at 200 yards. You're shooting at 300 yards. Sometimes finding a blood trail where they were at is tough. And that's another point, too, is that when you've done that, and number one, again, you're always ready. You rack it, you're ready, man, to take that other one. If you do, then you're not panicking like what happened to Tucker. It's like, oh my God, you know, I've got to throw a shot off. And that's what he did. He never even really focused. He just threw his shot off. But, you know, if you're ready and you're ready for your follow-up, now, once you've seen that animal has either gone down or gone into the trees or whatever, you're again, just like I told Luis before about an animal that's bedded, you're going to range where that animal was. You're going to get out your base map with that navigation. You're going to get in that direction. You're going to mark exactly where that animal is, or pretty doggone close to it within a certain amount of proximity that's going to help you out. Okay, so that's critical. Those are some of the best points that we can have. But, you know, Shane, when you ask what it looks like as far as hunting elk with the rifle in the rut, is think like you got a bow in your hand. Now, there's going to be a lot of people, that's my opinion. There's other people that like to get up in glass and then go after them. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you are in a situation where that works and you have found an area that's a little honey hole that you don't have to worry about being disturbed, or, you know, but I'm talking about the rut time of year. It's different later on because they're not talking and people have to glass them up. But during the rut, these critters are talking. So you get a chance to hear those bugles. You get a chance to chase those bugles. You get a chance to do some calling and locate. And it's just an exciting time. And there is nothing like, and with a rifle in your hands, man, it's if there are critters in the area, man, I mean, it should be something that is a lot of fun and be celebrating and doing the happy dance, man. I'm telling you.
One of the things I was going to say is that when you take that shot, most likely you're going to be on sticks, you're going to be on your knee, you're going to be on your belly, you're going to have a good rest, right? Mm-hmm. Just rack another shell,
right,
and stay there. Stay right there and watch that animal. I mean, if he takes one step, I mean, he may hump up, and it's a good shot most of the time. Shoot him again. This is my philosophy. I want 2 holes in him.
Oh, and I'll tell you, I'll give you another tip. Binoculars are for glassing from the top of a mountain.
Exactly.
You've got an elk out there in park. That's not a time to use your binos. You use your scope. You use your scope to look at that animal, so that if you end up in a shooting situation, you're not putting your binos down and then having to try to find the animal in the scope. So binos for glassing up high, scope for looking at animals that are anywhere within shooting range. Okay.
Now, one of the things that I always tell myself and also other hunters, and you know, as a bow hunter, you're doing the same thing, is I paint a red dot on the animal itself. So I know that as a guide, that's the first thing I would do, is that, you know, his guide doesn't have his binoculars, but he's got his scope up, and you have to worry about sometimes that he doesn't bring his gun down to that red dot where he needs to put that shot placement. So I always would say red dot. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, you know, and that's probably what's his name did when he blowed the horn off. He was still looking at the horns.
Yeah.
Don't look at the horn.
We may want to clarify when you're saying paint a red dot on the animal, in case Manano listens to this episode, because he may just be wanting to run out there with a you know, marker or something and try to chase the animal down and paint it before, you know.
Tucker kind of laid that off on it too, is he's never shot with gloves on. Okay. And when he shoved his glove in that trigger guard, that glove's a lot fatter, right? So the gun went off probably before he decided he wanted to really start squeezing when he shoved his finger in there. Guys, if you hunt with gloves, thick gloves on, same thing when you're hunting with an archery release. You want to make sure you practice. If you're hunting with gloves on, you better make sure you're practicing with gloves on, because it is going to be different pressure that'll make that trigger go off with your rifle and your
bow. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, man, let's go to the ElkBros mailbox.
That's good, Joe.
All right, so we got Mark from Cleburne. Is that how you would pronounce that, Beto? Cleburne, Texas?
Cleburne, Texas, yep.
Cleburne, Texas. Mr. Mark says, I've listened to all your podcasts and have base camp. Y'all do a great job. My question is, if you don't know where the elk are, but you're in lots of fresh sign, where do you position your shooter when you start a cold calling sequence? I think,
Did you want to throw something out there, Luis?
yeah, well, I mean, again, this is my stab at it, but I'll try to answer what I think, and then I'll let you guys correct me. There's two things I see to this question. Well, first of all, if I'm seeing sign and I'm not hearing them, first I'm going to try to. I don't want to set up yet until I try to get a response, because I would want to understand where they're at first, and then understand the wind in order to set up my shooter, and then be the caller behind the shooter based on where the elk are. So that would be the first thing. Now, if you are certain that the elk are there, you're certain you can smell them, they're close, and you feel pretty confident that you know which direction the elk are in, and you're close and you don't want to risk it, then I would just make sure that if you know where they're at and you understand the wind, you obviously are going to position that shooter between you, the caller, and the elk, and that's the way I would tackle that situation.
Using the wind, knowing that those animals are how they're going to use the wind. I mean, there's only so many directions that you can have that shooter to be able to fan out, because if the elk's in another area coming in, they're going to smell you. So the wind dictates where you're going to have your shooter. And the other thing that kind of dictates it, and Luis, I loved how you answered that, because you did a really good job, man. And in that, and I understand what he's saying is sometimes that, and you went a step further, Luis, is that sometimes you're seeing fresh sign, you're smelling the elk in the wind like that, so that you got to set up, or you're just seeing steaming droppings, you're seeing fresh track, and you think those animals are where they can hear you, and so you're going to do and work a long scenario in order to bring those elk to you. So, but again, it's still the same principle. The wind dictates, because if there's no way I can put my shooter in a direction where the wind's going towards the elk. It's not going to matter that direction. So our only chance is putting my shooter up there where I have wind to a crosswind up there to be able to cover an area. And I'm going to want, depending on how open or how thick it is. Remember, the thicker that the vegetation is, the closer you want to be to your shooter as a caller, okay? Because you're going to pull them in, and it's going to be tight. It's going to be close, man. When they get that shot, trying to get into those shooting lanes. The more open it is, the more back you can be away from your shooter, so that you can still see them, but you can pull an animal by them without hanging up. But Luis gave you the exact answer, man. The wind dictates that, absolutely. So, no, very well done, Guy.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, and for me, Joe, I like the two-shooter approach. If you got two guys, man, set them out on each side.
You can fan out, yes.
Yeah, you got the inverted V, the flying V that we use, and man, I'm telling you, it is deadly. I used to think one-on-one's a great deal, but I really feel like two-on-one's even better. And then like us, Joe or whoever else is with us, we're all hunting. So I mean, you got three guys in the set that's got an arrow and a bow with them. Man, something's going to die.
And what he's talking about, if you're not able to envision that, guys, is we're in a V basically. So with the caller, being the bottom of the V, and having the shooters out, and a lot of times our caller is a hunter as well that has a bow with them, just in case something happens where an animal does slip by one of these guys. We've had it happen. I mean, I had it happen with me and Chav, and so but when you have that, and the other thing is, you could actually do the L, where you have somebody straight ahead in the wind right in front of you, and then somebody more on the downwind side. So in case that bull tries to circle around, it's just whatever you're going to try during that particular one there. So Chav, let's go to the next one.
Okay, we have Adam Visser from Calgary, Canada. You talk about glunking at a herd bull when the cows are between you and the herd bull. Wouldn't that bring the cows over to you first? If it did bring the cows over, wouldn't you possibly get busted by a cow and have the herd run off, thus starting the chase all over again?
Well,
And then go ahead.
yeah. So what I want to tell, first of all, is a glunk is not a call that cows respond to. A glunk is a tending sound by a bull that is just, he's basically popping the top of his mouth as he's trying to get scent, and as he's kind of herding and letting those cows know where he is. It's a tending sound. So it's not something that's going to bring cows. Cows, unless that bull starts hooking them or doing something like that, they just know that he's present, and they can hear him working as he's going around and know where he's at. So, but when you do that glunk with that bull on the other side and those cows, that bull hears it, and he hears a bull tending his cows.
Yeah, he's coming, buddy.
Yeah.
You're an intruder.
That's like flipping him the middle finger. You guys ever been in a bar room and you tending some female? Somebody walks up and says, "Hey man, that's my old lady." Well, everybody's going fingers up and somebody's getting whooped, right? Go mess with somebody else's lady, right? So it's the same way with these children, man.
And
Joe is like, how did we end up at the bar all of a sudden?
I
can go straight redneck here.
He spent too much time back in South Carolina in my hometown, man. But the same thing goes for the pants and the whines and those those are all tending sounds, that frustrated bull working and stuff like that. And those cows, you watch those cows when they're doing that, it's his presence when he starts doing that visual thing with his horns and starts getting threatening that they kind of pay attention to. Otherwise they can just hear him out there doing that tending and that frustration, and they'll just keep doing their thing. All right.
To add something to that, Adam, the one that you got to look out for is the lead cow. I mean, she's the one who's handling where their position is, right? And that bull, if you can get him thinking he's got another satellite, and that's what the glunking's going to do. He's going to think there's another bull coming in there. If you ever get between him and the cows, it's over. Game, set, match. He's coming. So I mean, that's your whole idea, is try to get between him and the cows. And I mean, you got the right idea, but don't worry about them cows when you're using that glunk. It's going to be the bull that comes to you, not the cow.
He has another question too.
Yeah.
Okay, the second part of Adam's question is, I hunt in the prairies of Calgary, Alberta. It can be hard hunting because there isn't a lot of coverage. Are there any ideas on how I can get closer to the elk in the open? And I would say that if he scouted the area pretty good, he should look for low-lying funnels or, natural funnels or low-lying areas and use that to his advantage. I remember when Joe was turkey hunting this year. He was basically an open field, but it had a ditch running along a side of it, and Joe kind of zipped across the ditch and got close enough to get a shot at a turkey. I would assume that even the prairie isn't extremely flat. You can look across and it would look flat to you, even with binoculars, but the reality is it's not going to be all that flat.
Yeah, you have to use the terrain.
The ultimate predator decoy. You think you could try and?
Absolutely.
That's a good possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use a decoy, and I'll give you another one. If there's cattle in the area.
Yes, cow decoy works perfect.
Yeah, you use that cow silhouette.
I don't know how many legs you got, Pilgrim.
Yeah. So I mean, the only other thing you can do is just wait till they get into the trees, if there are any trees. But it almost sounds like it's just a big open area where he's at there. So your only choice there is you got to use terrain. You got to use that low lion. Maybe you put on one of those. What are those ghillie suits, and start crawling across there and get on them.
The one advantage of the open air is like that is the visibility and being able to locate them from further away.
Yep.
And they're going somewhere. They're going to have a destination. They're not going to stay out in the wide open the whole time.
Find
Joe,
out.
didn't you kill an antelope laying on the fence,
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah.
Yes, he was laying on the fence, just flat on his back, and the antelope came by and he set up and shot him.
Yeah, we've had we've shot antelope a lot of ways that I've shot an antelope out of a tree stand, the only tree in the doggone prairie.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, what I would suggest to him is, you generally got a few days to hunt. And the first day would be to study the animals and watch them. I mean, elk are pretty much they'll follow their same pattern 90% of the time. So, if you see them go a certain way into the trees or off of the prairie, now you know where you need to be if you can get the wind right. But that's what I would do.
And you could set up on some water too, Joe, depending on how much water they got or no water that they got. They could set up, a blind or something like that and hunt a water source as well, especially in the evenings when they come into water. I know Joe don't want to hear about no blind, but at the end of the day.
RC, you talk about our antelope hunts that me and Chav used to do back in the day. We saw and did some of the craziest things, man.
Yeah.
One day I'll have to share my story, how I was flagging.
No, please don't. We don't want to know.
You probably heard it.
We don't want to know.
It's not real.
No, he was showing his gas producing factory around.
Don't let them have any, don't hear anything, man. All right. Next person, man. Gilbert, you got Bill Steiger.
Old Mr. Bill Steiger out of Oregon. Man, Bill, we appreciate you sending in your question. If the woods are quiet, do you call? I have heard when calling to match the environment. If the woods are quiet, calling is quiet and not excited. The woods are alive with noise, you can be more vocal. Any thoughts?
I'm getting ready to jump in, man. Because
go ahead and take this one,
because look, that whole thing about matching the environment depends a lot on proximity, or if you're in animals or anything like that. If you're like following a herd and you sneak into them and they haven't been saying a thing, and then you get in tight and you just start calling, and you're liable just to blow everything out. But I don't follow the principle of if the woods are quiet, you don't call, because they're just not excited. I believe in creating that excitement because, the reason elk get excited is because they hear other elk getting excited, and that gets them going a little bit. So we'll do things like I have a scenario where I'm going to be the bull. I'm going to be an advertising bull. Like in that, if I'm hunting, I will be going through a transition from a feed through a transition up a ridge, and I'm screaming those bugles as I'm going. I'm putting out a few cow calls here and there, and I'll do it all the way. And I have had bulls that have zeroed in on my route and that I'm going, and end up coming in and cutting me off before I get to a certain point up there. I mean, you got to really be sharp, because a lot of those guys come in silent, and then when you do that, sometimes they start popping off, because especially if you start putting on a show, man, if you start putting on a show, where you sound like multiple bulls that are going off, whenever you hear multiple bulls screaming, that means there's a hot cow. And there's certain sounds that a bull makes that he only makes when he has a hot cow. So when you're doing that, those sounds are what get other bulls. It's just like, if you're walking down the street and you hear somebody go, oh, and all that stuff, you're like, what's going on over there? It's the same thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you can actually do it. If the woods are alive with noise, Man, that's you know, you can almost do the opposite. Look, if it's quiet, sometimes you can make a bunch of noise to get it going. If it's the woods are alive, a lot of times you ain't got to say nothing. You just start moving in on it until, you know, there's a reason or a season to be able to do something there. So that's my philosophy, Bill.
I remember asking you a question several podcasts ago, Joe, where I was almost certain that our presence in the early archery season, calling the first few days where everything was quiet, had an impact on animals starting to respond after that. Because I asked you, I was like, man, I have a feeling that us just walking around the woods and calling and trying to locate is just somehow starting to trigger the animals to start talking, because it's just, you know, yeah, I get it that there's like a moon phase or time of the year or, you know, just all that will just trigger them talking, but it was just too coincidental. And it was always like second or third day when we'll just see, you know, the woods starting to kind of live up, and then just like once one small herd of elk start screaming, then the next, then it's just like a chain effect.
You got to remember the rut is, it's a time of year. A rut are elk reacting to a cow in heat. So when those elk hear a rut going on, that starts building up and getting them excited.
Yeah, one whiff. And man, here it is. They start popping off like popcorn pops. I mean, seriously. If you listen to our podcast last week, you know, Mr. Bill, if you listened to our podcast last week, I talked about a time when RC Knox and I were up in the chute, and it was absolutely dead quiet, and we couldn't get nothing talking. And RC just went off like a wild man, bugling and going crazy. And all of a sudden, sound like a herd of buffalo coming off the mountain. All these elk, man. I mean, they just stormed us right on top of us, and nobody had made a sound the whole day. I mean, we couldn't. There was no talking going on, nothing. But as soon as RC started his party, I mean, the woods erupted with elk. You know,
we started.
They heard the party, and here they came. Right.
We merged and converged at the top of the mountain once, to hunting separately. We could tell, we could hear you guys bugling. You guys heard us. You guys got closer. We put on a party together, and they came over that day. You know, so and then all the woods started to light up with like elk bugling. It was incredible.
The morning Joe killed his bull with the ultimate predator decoy, where he had never shot through the thing before. That morning we had been calling, had a big scenario set up, and we actually called in your buddy and his son, and they moved on. But after that we didn't sit there and talk maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and they moved on. It wasn't another 125 yards, and here come these bulls roaring up on us. And it was because of the set that we'd already been in for them coming looking, you know, what's going on. And nobody's made a sound, but because we had that, you know, the wherewithal working into the wind the whole time, and we set up a really cool scenario. Joe's bugling, I'm insistent cow calling. I mean, we had a really cool thing going on. It sounded so cool, like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation calling kind of going on right there. And man, you know, we just basically, we call in those hunters, and we high five and little man and stuff like that. Got to meet all those cool people. And then, I mean, not 7-8 minutes later, we peel off from them, and
here 200 yards further.
Here come dadgum Dumb and Dumber, you know, with them all for the party. You know, seriously, they were looking. They were not dumbing around. They were looking for the party. And when they see Joe's decoy out, it's like, whoa! Now we found the party.
Here we've done all of this calling and put on a scenario, put the show on, with nothing that reacts. We take time to have a conversation. We walk further 200 yards, get on top of a ridge, give a little cow call, and all of a sudden things start bugling because the whole time they had heard the show and they were moving in that direction. They were getting worked up. Now they hear a cow and they know, wow, I've heard that. And man, it just lit up just like that. So there are times I truly believe you can get it rocking yourself, man.
Absolutely, Bill. Be bold, brother. Blow some things up, create some opportunities, man, and have some, above all else, Bill, have some fun.
Yeah.
Have some fun, brother. You know, don't worry about the mule going blind, as my grandpa would say, load the wagon, son. You know?
All right, Gilbert, close us out, man.
Fellas, like we say all the time here, you know, at ElkBros, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes, review us, and you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And just a reminder, if any of our listeners want their questions answered on our show, just send your question to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. And like we say down here in Texas, husbands kiss your wives, wives kiss your husbands, hug your babies, keep your broadhead sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Absolutely. You know what's coming, right? Music from?
Absolutely. Music from Tony Wintrip.
Tony Wintrip.
Buddy, Tony.
Good night, everybody.
Peace. Thank you, everybody.
So,
I make my living working east of town, late nights in the summer till the sun goes down. I can't stop thinking about how my life's changed, but I'm still the same as I was young. Peeled them bark trees one by one, made a couple of dollars, filled my gas tank once, and I left my high school, barely made it by, but I found my way back. Oh, how time flies, living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging them moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. This place has changed and it ain't for the good. There's a bunch of new faces in my old neighborhood, and the logging market goes up and down. There used to be a little export in this booming town. I build my freezer from the river and the woods, kick it back with my old man. Yeah, my life is good, living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot, and I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging the moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine all the time. Living Northwest wild. Fishing is my kind of style. I'm float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. Yeah, I'm proud of all the things that I've got. God's land. I'm floating in the bay now, I'm watching my